Well, mark this day down in the diary. We have started 10 minutes early. I don't know if you realise, dude, but I set the start time
10:15.
Right,
for a quarter of an hour. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
So, well, just to give you a bit of leeway, because as you know, you have been busy. What have you been up to these last few weeks?
Well, I've been doing coverage of Stephen and Brennan, obviously, but not as much as I've recently been covering what's going on over in the UK, and particularly with Scotland, just because I feel such a kinship with, all my good friends like yourself and Sharon and developing many others in the process. But as as somebody who believes very much in democracy and that the will of the people is important, and and that sort of thing, I'm taking great interest in what's happening over there because it's such an interesting thing. Did Boris and his Conservatives in Westminster get a mandate from the English people? Yeah, they certainly did, to get Brexit done. However, in that process, there's 3 other parts of the United Kingdom that didn't want to be taken out of the European Union, or didn't want Brexit, and so it's causing issues. And the fact is, the Scots have been continuously voting in the SNP in every election, and which is basically saying that they want another referendum. And it's interesting to watch the politics play out, because obviously Westminster doesn't want to let it happen, because they obviously realized they did go down in 2014 and tell a bunch of lies, and they know that the situation has completely changed, and so they don't want to. They want to sit on it, And I think it's interesting to watch. So we had a march in Glasgow just about a month and a half ago. We just had this weekend a march in Inverness. Thousands of people getting out in the streets, being seen, being heard, making their voices heard. And there's going to be another one coming up April 4th in Arbroath. And that is on the 700th anniversary of the, what was the document? It's the document of declaration or something like that. You may know what I'm talking about. It was written by Robert the Bruce to Pope John the 22nd, when he was trying to get the Pope to recognize Scotland as a sovereign nation.
How old do you think I am?
I'm saying as an interesting piece of history, dude. Okay. So anyway, it's on the 7th anniversary of this document. And I guess anyway, this document has some interesting wording in it, like Scotland shall remain a sovereign nation so long as there are 1,000 Scots still standing to defend it, or, something along those lines. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so anyway, it's on the 700th anniversary of this document that they're doing this thing in Arbroath. And so I've just been following it with great interest. And so those of you who are interested in it at all, you can go head over to my Doctor Who channel. I've been covering it, but not to take any attention away from Stephen and Brendan. Mm-hmm. What's up, brother? What you doing?
What country is Liverpool in?
Liverpool, that would be England, right?
Oh, right. And how did Liverpool vote when it came to Brexit?
Oh, let me see. I from what I understand, the big cities tended to vote against it.
Yeah.
But in the rural areas, it tended to be the other way.
As I was saying to you on Saturday night, Sunday morning, it's like, it's not as if you've got Scotland v England, there's parts of England that are not like that either, and although Boris has got this majority in the Houses of Parliament, I'm not even convinced that all of them are truly in favour of Brexit.
I think there may be something to that. I mean, Brexit it didn't pass overwhelmingly. Never did it ever pass overwhelmingly. It was always like 52 to 48. Like just barely getting it over the net, really, essentially. Well, so if it had been more, if more people had been behind it, it probably wouldn't have been what it's been, the train wreck that it's been.
Yeah, but same roughly the same sort of figures, just narrowly. Scotland voted to remain part of the UK. The UK narrowly voted to leave to leave Europe. You know, but
right.
you know, and unfortunately, you know, as we discovered in the Captain Crunch vote, you know, one vote makes all the difference. It can make the difference between a win or a draw. You know.
And everybody here knows that I fully accepted the democratic will of everybody who voted in that.
And have moaned like a trooper ever since.
Excuse me, dude. Have I ever tried to reinstate the arguments? Because you did at one point. Anyways, no, but no, I get it though. I mean, and that's another thing I hear from a lot of the Scots who, I mean, even the really gung-ho yes voters, is like they talk about the fact that they have nothing against the people down in England. Like they know so many people in England, and like they have family, you know, and you know, there's people have family across the border and stuff. And so yeah, it's unpleasant to want to break up. It's unpleasant to want to separate from the UK for that reason, along with some other reasons that I can obviously see for Scots to have a reason. But even these yes voters realize that it's like the people, we love the people, we have friends down there. It's Westminster. It's, you know, it's been really targeted to, it's Westminster that we have a problem with, you know. I don't think the love for the English people is going to go away with the Scots, because they're always keen to express it, you know. That's something about the Scots that I don't often see I don't see it often reciprocated on the other side. But I often see the Scots are keen to express the fact that they do love the people down in England. They do love the people themselves. So I've always found that interesting.
It's just the politicians.
So they just it's Westminster that they have a problem with.
Yeah, it's like I was saying. Who was the last person to enter Parliament with good intentions?
The guy that was going to blow it up.
Yeah.
Guy Fawkes, the guy. Hey, that's funny.
But isn't it interesting? You know, I mean, that's human history, isn't it? You know, we've always wanted these things, and when we get it, it's not quite what we wanted. You know.
Yeah. Well,
it's like I've been trying to do some research into the fact that you know, Steve Drizzen and Richard Leo in their article False Confessions in the Post DNA World. In conclusion, they number one is get this videotaping of interrogations, and I don't think that Brendan was the very first, was he, in Wisconsin? The very first interrogation that was videotaped, but it was near enough.
Well, yeah. Either he was the first, or he was one of the first.
Yes, one of the first. Yes,
you're right.
Yeah, and my question would be, you know, having sort of advocated for this, you know, videotaping, because, you know, really you've got to have the. You'd agree with me. You've got to have not just the audio, but the visual as well. You know, to really see.
I think it's helpful, to see the facial expressions and.
Yeah. But in what way did it help Brendan? Because the people are still just set in their ways when it comes to.
Well, he's got an army of people that support him. It helped him in that way.
But the point is that, you know, even though that videotape was played at his trial, did those jurors not realize? You know, were they not cringing when Mark Regan says to him, "I'm just going to come out and ask you"? You know, it makes you wonder, doesn't it?
It does make me wonder. I don't understand how more judges didn't have a problem with that. But then again, it's one of the first recordings they made, and we all know the state isn't gonna. They're not generally gonna do anything unless the courts make them. So if they think they can do a thing, they're gonna continue. They're gonna go ahead and do it until someone tells them they can't.
Yeah.
So
I mean, you know, You've got Steve Drizzen and Richard Leo write that article. 125 cases of wrong, you know, exonerations, wrongful convictions in the post DNA road. In other words, people that have been proven innocent by DNA evidence. You know, and you've got Tom Fallon at the end saying innocent people don't confess. Well, I'm sorry, but I'm sure that Tom Fallon is well aware of the work of Stephen Drizzen, because they had Stephen Drizzen. Well, Jerry Buting was a member of the original. Was it the crime?
Was it maybe Crime Victims' Rights Board?
The Justice Reform Bill.
Okay, yeah, the Avery Commission.
That's right, yeah.
Right.
And so, I mean, Tom Fallon being the Assistant Attorney General, he would know exactly what people are doing, what they're saying. Something as significant as that article would be common knowledge amongst lawyers. At least it should be, shouldn't it?
You would think, and if you're a practicing lawyer at that level, you would think, yeah.
But it just seems like it's a complete lie then to get up knowing full well that coerced confessions occur and that wrongful convictions then occur because there's a long history of them. To get up and say that it's like you're just pampering to your audience. And a lot of these lawyers they go on to either be judges, so therefore the judges carry on as if they are still lawyers. I mean, you've got Angela Sukovich that seems to think that she's the district attorney of Manitowoc County, doesn't she? And
certainly in her most recent decision, she sounded that way. Yeah.
And then you've got others that that do go well. That go into politics. They either judges or politics, don't they?
Right.
It's one of the. I'm sure that in Texas there were people that were disappointed that Vic Purcell didn't pursue a political career because he could have.
Considering the integrity he has, yeah, it is.
Could have changed some stuff there. So tell me what's happening on Sunday, my night, your afternoon, early afternoon, just before the Super Bowl.
Is that where you and I are getting together with McGilla?
That's it. To discuss?
Well, we're going to be discussing the dogs, the scent dogs, the tracks, and some of the bones, apparently.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
We're going to be kind of just chatting about McGilla's Reddit posts and where some of the links he made and some of the little things he put together. So we're going to be kind of going through that.
Yeah, he's got some interesting observations and theories. Here's one for you, one I found in a book. What's the difference between a rebellious chicken and a randy lawyer?
What is it?
I'll do that again. What's the difference between a rebellious chicken and a randy lawyer? One clucks defiance.
And one clucks defense.
One clucks defiance. It's okay. Take your time.
Oh, I don't know what the hell you're getting at, dude.
I'm not going to say it. I'll read it out again. What's the difference between a
rebellious chicken.
A rebellious chicken and a randy solicitor. One clucks defiance.
A randy lawyer. And I see. Yes. Okay. Now I get where you're. Okay.
Okay. Not sure about that one.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah. The just before we came on, I noticed Travis was asking about that question that I actually got read out at Jerry's presentation on last Wednesday.
Yeah.
It was a really good presentation, by the way. As I've said before, you've been to 2 presentations, yeah?
With Drizzen and Nyrider, yeah.
And Rudolph.
And Rudolph.
Yeah.
That's not making a murderer, but yeah, and Rudolph.
Yep.
You've gone to seen Jerry. I have not seen Dean and Jerry, so.
Yeah, you're nearly there, but one clucks defiance, one the clients.
Roger.
if you swap the F and the Klux Defiance and want the clients. Anyway, we're meandering. Yes. So you, first of all, which one did you think was the better presentation, Sydney or Melbourne?
Melbourne.
Because?
Well, just because it was more in depth and they had, they seemed like they kind of set the show up to where they could kind of be able to talk about the things they wanted to talk about. And so I finally got to hear David Rudolph completely flesh out the owl theory. They even put up some visual aids because they had a computer set up to come so they could put some stuff up on the screen and things like that. So it was just better. The Duke of Enmore was cool. It was fun. It's a little more, it was a little less, I guess you might say, it was a little,
not as
Duke of Enmore is cozy. It's not as like big and modern and everything like the Melbourne Convention Center was. So it was, I guess, I don't know. I guess I would compare it to a dive bar. You know what I mean? Where it has that kind of a atmosphere to it. But so I can appreciate that quality, by the way. But I did enjoy the show in Melbourne just because the information was better in my opinion.
Did it have a bar? I can't remember.
Well, we had to go down the street to it, right? The Duke of Enmore pub, right?
I'm trying to think if there was an actual bar inside.
I don't know if I didn't even go try to. I don't even drink anymore, so I didn't even go bother trying to find it. And you were busy getting in trouble.
I think there was actually. I think there was a bar, but it was just getting to the bar that was the problem. Because I think there was also a bar in. There wasn't a bar in Melbourne, was there?
I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, it's like that. It's like that convention center was just like empty, except for us going in to see the Making a Murderer talk. Yeah. But
yeah, because certainly when I went to Amsterdam, that was really good because you had a really nice theatre and you could just nip out to the bar, get a drink. That was handy. So yeah, when you go along, you do get some really good presentations, and Jerry had obviously put a lot of time and effort into this latest one because it's full of video clips and the PowerPoint presentations.
Right.
And it's not like how in the past you've had somebody that acts as the interviewer,
and
asking questions. Well, this was completely different. This was just him presenting his
driving the train, right?
Yeah, just doing it all himself. He got introduced and then just cracked on and
that was the other thing too, is the MC, the guy that was asking the questions at the Duke of Enmore. I don't know. I just kind of felt like he was a little. I just the questions he was asking I thought were odd and I don't know. He just seemed. Not serious or less serious, I guess. I don't know. I just didn't like his style, I guess.
I think one of the things that was noticeable at Melbourne was that there was this. Steve Drisner's got these certain lines that he likes to ask the audience, knowing full well that nobody in the audience knows the answer. And there was some dude there that completely messed it up for him, wasn't there?
Which question was it?
Well, first of all, he said, what was the name of the band that Ken Kratz used to play in?
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And also, who else was in the band?
Right.
And the answer is, well, of course, Ken Kratz's band was Alibi, and the other person in the band, Brad Schimmel. So they've known each other for a long, long time, and it was just. You can get some crazy Welshmen that play it, but no, I was a bit peeved at the question.
And we should have told them that we were there. You were there all the way from Scotland. I was there all the way from America, just so that we could, ruin his joke about Ken Kratz and Alibi. That's the whole reason we came. Mission accomplished.
Yeah.
And for me, getting to hear Drizzen call you Welsh, that was great.
No, Drizzen. Oh, well, yeah. that is a real bugbear of mine, you know. I mean, I'm actually like a fifth Italian, a fifth Welsh, a fifth Scottish, a fifth Irish, a fifth English. You know, it's I'm a right mixed up bit of everything. But by residency, I qualify as Scottish because I've lived here for 37 years. So it makes me
right.
It makes me
it makes you a new Scot.
Yeah. But no, the question was, as I said to Jerry, you know, wrote in my piece of paper, could you expand on the situation with regard to you representing the possibility of representing Brendan? And it is mentioned in Jerry's book, but also he has mentioned it before, because I mean I've seen Dean and Jerry 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
So I've seen Jerry once. So Dean once. I've seen Jerry 3 times. The very first time in Edinburgh, it was Dean and Jerry together.
Right.
Then in Amsterdam, it was Jerry and David Rudolph. But then obviously on Wednesday, it was just Jerry. And of course, what happened was that you know, Dean's in his office. Jerry's come along because they're talking about taking on the Stephen Avery case. And after an hour, a phone call comes in to Dean Strang.
Mm-hmm.
And Dean Strang says to Jerry, "Oh, Brendan's been arrested and charged with all this, you know, and he's apparently given this confession, you know." And that's when they talked about the possibility of Dean carrying on representing Steve,
right,
and Jerry representing Brendan,
right.
And you can't help thinking, if that had been the case, you know, there's a possibility of a slightly different outcome for Brendan, isn't there?
Certainly, because if Brendan would have had somebody who was actually in his corner from the beginning, I mean, it's like first he had the guy that was what's it called, a relative of the Hallbox.
Yes.
You know, and that guy before leaving signed away, you know, or waived Brendan's right to an evidence, you know, a hearing to determine whether or not the evidence against him was, you know, sufficient or to challenge it or whatever, right? Dude waived that so that it was basically going right to trial. And then incoming Len Kaczynski. I mean, hell yeah, if you'd had somebody like Jerry from the word go, yeah, probably would have made a huge freaking difference. You know?
Well, you wouldn't have had a certain Mike O'Kelly.
Nope, you wouldn't.
No,
Jerry wouldn't have brought that fool in.
Yeah. Well, hold on a sec. I don't think Michael O'Kelly is a fool. I think he knew exactly what he was doing.
I say fool as in terms of slang, the way we use it here, but you know, I'm just saying. Well, even then, I still think he's a fool, he's an idiot, but he knew what he could get away with, probably. Mm-hmm. Just like all these guys, they know how to push it just up to the line, but not too far. You know, it's. I don't know.
Yeah. So anyway, that's. But apparently, because they'd spent an hour talking about it, that couldn't then be the case. But the other thing is, you know, if it had been Dean Strang representing Steve and Jerry representing Brendan,
mm-hmm.
would they have worked closer together than Drizzen Nyrider and Kathleen Zellner?
I don't know.
Are doing. That's the one thing that still bugs me, because we were in both Sydney and Melbourne. How many times did they mention either Kathleen Zellner or Stephen Avery?
Right.
You know, it's like they're trying to avoid. And the only time at the end,
I think you may be right, because if for right or wrong, their client is Brendan, and it is problematic to try and get tied up in Stephen's case, while also trying to take care of, or look after Brendan's case. I mean, for them, it's just more unnecessary kind of stuff that they have to, take on if they do talk about it. I think that's why they stay away from it. They're just like, look, Brendan's confession is obviously false by just looking at it. All you have to do is just look at it, and you can realize how false it is, how factually incorrect most of it is, how most of it changed 3 or 4 times in the telling. And, and you just on and on and on and on. 90% of these facts are fed to him, and what wasn't fed to him was known in the media, and that sort of stuff. It's just, it goes on and on. That this confession alone is enough to prove its own falseness, and so that's what they've been standing on, because that way they don't have to get into all the blood and all that crap that's involved with Stephen's case. They're trying to avoid having to get involved and having to argue all that.
Yeah, but Brendan confessed, in inverted commas, to things that have never been corroborated. So you cannot say that he was coming up with unique facts that only he would know.
Right.
Because he doesn't know them, because nobody knows them, because they didn't happen. There's no way of saying, that this happened and this happened just because Brendan said it. So,
Yeah.
But my new article that I'm looking at is by Richard Leo,
mm-hmm.
who was the co-author of the False Confessions in the Post-DNA World. Yeah?
Yeah.
So that article was in 2004, and it looked at 125 cases. And as I say, in conclusion, they say that the videotaping of these interrogations
mm-hmm.
is their big thing. This is what they want, There's been other suggestions as well. We remember one very good one that said that, once the police have interrogated somebody, then that confession, for want of a better word, should be read in front of the attorneys, and then the guy signs it and says, yes, I agree with everything that's there. And if not,
mm-hmm.
then you've got an issue with that confession,
Right.
But it's got to be done with lawyers present, so it's got to be a proper legal document that has been countersigned, witnessed, read out, witnessed, countersigned.
Yeah.
Because, as I say, you've got 2 years later, 3 years later, after 2004, when this document came out, you've got, Tom Fallon getting up and saying, innocent people don't confess.
Right. He said that to the jury in closing arguments.
He's completely lying. So
yeah.
Looking at this article by Richard Leo in 2016,
mm-hmm.
I've read the first part. When we get to the second part, he talks about the fact that there needs to be a more aggressive defense of the clients.
Mm-hmm.
And certainly one of the questions that Jerry was asked was, what was his thoughts on Kathleen Zellner? It was probably something along the lines of, how good is Kathleen Zellner,
mm-hmm.
And he said, she has got an absolutely phenomenal success rate in exonerating innocent people. I mean, he was saying it's 17 or 18. When Steve is the next one, if he is the next one, that will be 20.
I think she's already at 20. I think she's she might even be at 21.
Right. I mean, it's just a phenomenal success. But he said, he used the word abrasive.
Yeah.
My question would be, does abrasive work?
Well,
does it work?
Like with Brendan?
Well, no, as in general, does it work? What I'm saying is that, you can have all this sort of nicey, nice letter to the governor. Oh, please let Brendan out. He's not really a bad lad. Come and meet him.
Do you remember when we were all saying the state's a bunch of jerks and they're hiding stuff and they're blah 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 blah, and KZ was all, oh no, Tom Fallon's a good guy. I've talked to him. Nah, don't worry about. And then now with the bones and the ledgers that were hidden and everything that was in the pages 1114 and 1115 of Queso that were hidden and all that stuff. So it's like she now is calling them disingenuous, right? So it's like there's always an instinct to be diplomatic, right?
To begin with, yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, you're dealing with Laura and Steve. I mean, they're representing an entire, segment of the law school over there at Northwestern, the Center for Wrongful Convictions, Center for Wrongful Convictions of Youth, and all the various entities there and all that stuff. So I don't think they have the option to be as flamboyant as KZ is.
If you were a student, a law student, if you're a law student, who would inspire you most to become a defense attorney? Or in the case of Kathleen Zellner, she's a post-conviction attorney. But what I'm saying is as somebody that's going through law school, who's the one character out there that's going to really inspire you, and you're going to think, man, I want to be like her. Yeah, fair enough.
She would definitely be one of the people to look up to, certainly, yeah. Especially when it comes to wrongful convictions.
Yep. Okay, so what else did we get through? Harry Dunn and Anna Sekulis.
Oh, is this your case with the? Yeah. Okay. The ambassador's wife and all that. Is that what? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. I didn't get to read that yet, unfortunately, but I've heard you talking about it, and it is disturbing but that is what happens with diplomatic immunity. That is a tough one. I mean, legally, there's very little recourse because of the diplomatic immunity. Yeah, that's an interesting one.
She was told not to leave the UK twice by the police.
Yeah. Yeah, but she knew she had diplomatic immunity, so.
And so what?
So she knew she had it. That's it. She knew.
So that's
she
it.
Knew she could. She knew she could. She didn't have to listen.
So Harry Dunn supporters, forget it. You're dealing with America. These things happen. Luckily we've got President Trump telling us that they drive on a different side of the road over here.
I don't necessarily say that he shouldn't be extradited, but it was like what Travis was saying. 95% of the time with diplomatic immunity, that's it. It's just diplomatic immunity. I suppose if enough of a stink gets raised about it, then maybe you might get. If I'll put it this way, if Donald Trump thinks he could get some positive attention from it, he's probably inclined to do it. So if he knows there's enough people out there that will be pleased by it, he might be interested in actually, giving, him justice, giving Mr. Dunn, right? Yeah. So yeah, if enough people are talking about it, if it becomes enough of an issue, might get some movement on it.
What struck me was the fact that her lawyer, Anna Sekulis' lawyer, was saying that basically paraphrasing, we can't send my client back there. She could face up to 14 years for this accident. And it's completely disproportionate. And it's like, well, first of all, facts. It's not. It's the maximum that you could get would be 14 years if it was just sheer, completely dangerous driving.
Right. Right. Reckless. Right.
Well, yeah. If you go joyriding and you knock down a pedestrian, and you're doing something really bad, and causing somebody's death.
Right.
But when it's apparently since that accident, there's been a couple of more cases where people have just driven straight out of that airbase right onto the wrong side of the road.
Right. Okay. Right. Because inside of it. Right. Yeah.
Yep.
So.
See, basically, when
why you guys have to drive on the wrong side of the road? No, I'm just kidding. Anyways, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding,
dude. Why do we drive on the left?
Oh, I don't know. Is there an actual reason?
Oh yeah.
Oh, I don't know what it is.
It's a very good historical reason. It goes way back to the times of. Well, you see it in medieval jousting, and also you see it when if you've got two people on horseback coming in opposite directions, because the majority of the population are right-handed. Well, how are you gonna battle somebody with a sword if you're on the wrong side? Yeah,
right.
It's southpaw, thing, isn't it?
Yeah, right.
You've got to be on. So it's historically we've always been driven on the left or ridden our horses on the left. It's but the question would be why did America change it?
Maybe they just had it. They were so pissed off at the homeland, so they just said we're going to do it the opposite way.
No, it's interesting because it's President Trump says Europe they drive on the opposite side. No, they don't. It's UK, Ireland, and I believe Malta, where they drive on the drive on the left, and of course Australia. But of course, what excuse me. Obviously, what's happened is that she's come to the T-junction to come out onto the main road. And in order to turn right, you have to look out for the traffic that's coming from your right. Because if you want to turn right, you're looking to join traffic coming from your left, which is on the far side of the carriageway. Mm-hmm. So you've got to go over to the other side. Right. Obviously, what she's done is she just turned straight out.
Right.
And hit this.
She went right to right. Right.
Yeah. And apparently there's been a couple more near misses at that airbase. It's a problem, but there has to be something done about it. The way that the lawyer presented it as if she can't be sent back to face this 14 years as if it's disproportionate. Well, as I say, that's a lie, because people are going to, if when there's a court hearing, they're going to realize that there were mitigating circumstances, that it was a genuine accident.
Right. But
you don't just run away and then hide yourself.
Yeah, that's
you don't do that. And as the Home Secretary has said, if it was the other way around, if it was a UK person that had killed somebody in America, there would have been no qualms about extraditing.
Yeah,
but it just strikes me as being so similar to the Ricky Hochstetler case.
Right.
It's like it's an accident. There's nothing we can do about it. We just have to move on, and nothing gets done. Well, no, that's not the case, is it? I mean, I'd be interested to see what happens next with what they can actually do about getting Anne Secoulis back across. Did you see that documentary on Netflix, Time, about the Khalif Browder?
No, but I just watched The Mind of Aaron Hernandez.
Oh yeah.
That was interesting.
Yep.
Seemed like in the first episode they were trying to suggest that maybe some of his football injuries could have caused his problem. Nah, I don't think that was any part of his problem. I think his main problem was Dad died, and when Dad died, he had that he didn't have that kind of guiding force in his life, and he ended up hanging out at the drug house. And he hung around with a bunch of guys who were doing things the wrong way. Just so happened he was such a gifted athlete, it lifted him out of that situation completely. But for whatever reason, he hung on to those bad habits. And, it's unfortunate. Guy had the world by the tail, man. And, but because he was, it's unfortunate that his dad died. I think if his dad hadn't died, his dad would have been there to be a positive influence. He wouldn't have ended up hanging out at the drug house, and he probably wouldn't have ended up getting into the kind of hijinks with guns and gunplay and all that sort of stuff, and he probably might have been all right.
Exactly that. Yeah, they tried to spring it, wasn't it? To me, it's like, try and get the two sides together, and that's it's, and then it can sort of be forgotten about. It's dealt with,
Yeah.
I think that was a bit of a, you say, to spring it on them, to try and. So anyway,
wow, they have to wait for a new Secretary of State and ask again. I see.
Yeah,
that's what Travis said.
Okay. As you say, I think.
Hey, as much as you hate my interest in your politics over there, I can't always like explain the politics over here either. Because honestly, I think you guys should be able to get her over there and be able to have her go through a trial. And I think you're right. I don't think she'll get the 14 years. I think she'll get less because it was probably an honest accident. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But I agree with you. She should be, but I can't make this country do anything. So unfortunately.
Yeah, no, as I say, I have a certain sympathy for the woman driver. I think that a lot of other people, if they had the opportunity to get off with it the way that she seems to think that she has done, would have taken that option, but it's become a political issue, isn't it? It's like are we willing to hold somebody accountable for causing an accident? I mean, nobody's suggesting that somebody deliberately ran over Ricky Hochstetler. It was an accident, but it's the way then that accident is dealt with.
Well, it's most likely drunkenly an accident, but.
Well, because it's 2 o'clock in the morning, or 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, isn't it?
Yeah, and you got to be pretty damn inebriated to be able to drive away from killing a kid. There's got to be something going on there.
Yeah.
Or you're just a cold-hearted bastard. Anyway.
Well, yeah. I mean, there was suspicion on, certainly on. Mr. Herman. Now, have you seen those pictures of Mike Bushman back in the 80s?
Jesus.
In a park.
Yeah, I've seen him. Yeah.
At this wet T-shirt competition.
Looks like one of those parties that Dave Bogatka describes, though. I'll tell you that. The weird sex parties, the club. Hello, Dave Bogatka. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good. You looked lost. It occurs to me when I see those pictures. I'm like, dude, that looks exactly like what Dave describes. That's what I think about him.
Mm-hmm. We have obviously Ken Kratz making huge play on the fact that when Stephen Avery came to answer the door when Teresa wearing a towel.
Yeah.
And we've got Gregory Allen, who 2 years previously to attacking Penny Bernstein was exposing himself. I can't see much difference between any of those incidents, except for the fact that Stephen Avery was covered up.
Yeah.
It really it's quite bizarre, isn't it? It's like one. So somebody at the Jerry Buting made the question, what is justice? And I nearly, well, I was very tempted to shout out. Dave's idea of what justice is just us.
Just us, right?
It is just for certain people, not for others.
Right.
It depends on who you are. You either would get treated, if those photographs came up. I mean, can't help thinking that the Manitou Sheriff's Department must be quite embarrassed about those photographs appearing.
Certainly. Well, I guess not. I mean, the guy that's in it, right, is no longer part of the department, right? So.
Yes, he was being kept on, wasn't he? As a was it a reserve? A reserve.
He was retired at the time of the Avery investigation. So,
but they had this like ceremony, didn't they, where they had the whole department comes in and they all sort of take the oath, and that was in like 2015 or 2016, early 2016. They all come in, they all take the oath.
Yeah, Bushman's got to be old as dirt by now.
Yeah,
Jeez.
they're all being sworn in, and yeah, that's what it was. That Bushman was this reserve deputy that they bring in on special occasions when they need to frame somebody.
Mm-hmm. You about done there, buddy?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
I gotta get off here pretty soon. So.
Yeah. No, if you haven't watched the Khalif Browder, then please do watch that. I did
check it out.
I did watch the Hernandez one. Very interesting.
It was interesting. I mean,
and what's the situation? He's just locked up at the moment, is he? Or did he commit suicide?
I believe he committed suicide. That's what I thought I heard in there.
Right.
I was kind of in and out on the last episode, but I believe I heard that he had committed suicide. But no, regardless, it's unfortunate with him. I mean, dude, literally. I mean, the guy on a football field was just, he was a football god. You know what I mean? And it's unfortunate that he couldn't get his personal life in order. He was still hanging around, being a thug with his friends that he, grew up with after his dad died, basically. The bad influences that he started to hang around with. Mm-hmm. And it's like all those influences took him into the bad areas and bad things of selling drugs and then when you start selling and dealing drugs, the things that you have to start to do in order to continue to be able to do it successfully and profitably, you have to start hurting people, doing things, protecting yourself. It gets ugly. And so that's the type of lifestyle he was in, and he was stuck in it. And it's amazing. I mean, he's making millions and millions of dollars playing football. But the pull of that lifestyle, just he couldn't get past it.
Sort of, being a gangster, if you like.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what I'm sure you've watched them, the confession tapes, because in the second series we have the joyride, don't we?
I've watched part of it, honestly. I do need to get back to it, but I do remember something about the joyride. Okay. I think
series 2, part 2 talks about that David Kofod, I believe his name is.
Mm-hmm.
And isn't it amazing how that was 2 times where all of a sudden he's brought in as this evidence technician and finds just what's needed to secure the conviction.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Reminds us of Lincoln Colburn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it is funny, dude, how things get found in places to incriminate Avery in this case, but they get found and they don't make sense. But just the fact that they're found where they're found is, it's like whoever was putting it there knew that would be enough, right? Mm-hmm. But didn't have enough presence of mind to think about how could I make this make sense. Right? Yep. With virtually every piece of evidence anyways. I've always found that particularly funny.
Yeah, it's one of the things that you do start thinking about is this whole situation with the RAV4, and you've got, not only was no fingerprints of Steve obviously found inside, there were 8 sets of prints.
Yes.
And not the only DNA of his was supposedly found on a hood latch, but also the blood.
Right.
But then no prints of Teresa Holbach either.
Right.
Which does seem very bizarre.
And the prints didn't match anybody at the Avery salvage yard.
And then you've got, in fact, Steve says that looking at some of the earlier quotes, that when he went across to say cheerio, Teresa handed him the magazine. He would have leant against the car. He almost certainly put his hand on the car. The way that people within the garage trade, they'll chat away for a couple of minutes.
Right.
Lean on the car, but no, it's makes you wonder, that, doesn't it? This, that year, 99, they had two colors of RAV. It was a dark green and a bluish greeny one. Right. A mystic teal. Right. And yet some of those photographs, the color change does seem to be pretty extreme, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Under different lighting. I mean, it makes you wonder.
It does. Makes you wonder. Yeah. Like I said, I did a couple videos on it. It intrigued me for a little while. Yeah. I'm not sure if I'm not sure how I feel about that. I mean, I think I kind of feel like it just kind of petered out, didn't really pan out, but some people are really, really big on that theory, and I don't want to take anything away from those folks. So. Mm-hmm.
Well, it's just that, the state were quite happy to give Kathleen Zellner the key to look at. Yeah. Why not the rest of the car?
Well, because Judge Sukowitz denied the motion. That's because she denied Avery's 97-406. That's why. All that was happening until she did that.
Yeah. Yeah. Right? They Tom Fallon had obviously, got in touch with Calumet to say, where's this RAV4?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Where is
That's when everybody started scrambling. Oh, I know. Let's call Judge Suk. Deny it. Deny it now, quick.
Yep. Yep.
I don't know if that's what happened, but all right, buddy. Well, I do need to get going.
Okay.
It's been great fun. Always a pleasure, my friend.
I hope you enjoyed your sleep on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah. I got to be honest with you, folks. I have been pretty exhausted lately, and so I've been trying to take it a little bit easy. But I got to tell you, what's going on over there in Paul's, little slice of the world has been interesting.
My land.
Yeah, But, it's been interesting to me. So I've been covering that as well as, this stuff. But I have been getting a little bit tired. And so on the weekends, I've been trying to take it easy. And I've been trying to get a few extra hours of sleep and, just trying to do things like that to try to keep myself from breaking down. So physically, mentally, all of it, right? So just trying to make sure I get enough rest and, So
this indie ref stuff, it's draining you, you should maybe.
I don't know if it is. It's actually, because I mean, to be honest, it's something new. You know what I mean? And whereas I love talking about Avery Dassey, don't get me wrong. I'll talk it around and about and everything, but the thing that I'm finding refreshing about looking into Scottish independence right now is that it's brand new to me. So I'm absorbing all new information that's all new to me and developing my opinions as I'm collecting the information. It's like it was when I was first learning about Avery and Dassey. It's helping me reconnect with that part of myself that loves the research. So it's like, I don't know. It's hard to talk. It's hard to say exactly, but sometimes you just get a little bit of a,
Yeah, no. I mean, I'm finding exactly the same. Looking at all these articles about false confessions and coercion tactics. And as I say, I've got a load of stuff that was sent to me by Saul Kassan. So I'm going to be having a look at some of that stuff, because there's been some very interesting observations in there. And obviously you looked at the article that he did, although obviously part of the writer of the amicus briefs was the American Psychologist Association.
Yeah.
He then also, did, as you read out, that article where he talks about why Scutus should have taken Brendan's case, and they decided not to. It's, as I'm sure a lot of people have pointed out, it's just a political mess.
Right. It certainly is.
But hopefully, I mean, obviously, some people are saying that the state could ask for an extension.
They could, yes.
My only hope there would be that they were doing it for the genuine reason of trying to work out, a sensible response, and maybe maybe even realize that now's the time to cut our losses on this one.
Maybe.
Yep.
I don't know. They got to be having some thoughts like that, because obviously they know the Court of Appeals was none too amused with their arguments around the bones. So they got to be having that in the back of their mind as they're getting ready to prepare for this upcoming, brief. Yeah. So, I
mean, Tom Fassbender keeps a CD in his possession. What? So that it wasn't ever seen
by Dean or Jerry. And,
but it wasn't kept for the other evidence.
Right.
Calumet County.
Right.
So that then any other officer could see. Oh, I wonder what this is. Why is this? What is this? Or what does this do with? It's. I mean, is that not illegal for a?
Should be.
For somebody
and that's what we're going to find out. How good is Wisconsin's new interpretation of Brady? We're going to find out. We're going to find out.
Yeah. What was that case that in effect has redefined Brady?
I forget the name of the case, but
it basically
it's now put the burden back on the prosecution of whether they had it and shared it, and not on the defense's due diligence anymore.
Yeah. In other words, it's no longer a game of hide and seek. Your job as the prosecution is to make sure that they have everything that they want.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it's not a case of them having to try and find it. You have to present it.
Hide and go seek, right? Nope. Yeah. No hide and go seek. No bueno.
Well, now you see you're into your Californian pig Latin, and it's just
you're calling that Wow, that's got to be racist towards the Mexicans.
We've got a term here in Scotland. You're a haverer.
Yeah, well, see, bueno is Spanish, which here in California we get the Spanish that comes over the border from Mexico, right? Yeah, so cool. You just said Californian pig Latin about a Spanish word. Any Mexicans out there that want to punch Paul in the face?
Pablo.
What does it say? Oh, okay. Oh, brother. So anyways, all right. Yeah. Well, it's been fun, my friend. Thank you for having me on. It's been a pleasure.
Well, yes, it's now 7:00 in the morning. I've been up since 5:30.
Yeah, it's 11 o'clock for me, so I need to get my butt to bed. So
what time are you up in the morning?
Oh, normal 5:36.
Oh, that's not so bad. That's not so bad.
Oh, it's not so bad.
That's not so bad.
Yeah, right. 4 hours, 5 hours sleep. I'm good.
Could be worse. it could be worse. I could be sleeping at Miller's Point, and at 3:00 in the friggin' 3:00 in the morning, I get woken up by somebody's alarm.
Hey, well, what are you gonna do? My phone's pretty loud, but not loud enough for me.
Obviously, and then the same in Manitowoc. I couldn't believe it.
What do you I have alarms set for every morning on my phone, so I don't turn them off when I go on vacation, but I probably should, I guess. So
Okay.
All right, buddy.
So yes, we'll look forward to a chat with McGilla 39 on Sunday, and have a look at the
prior to Super Bowl.
Yes.
So
yeah.
Make us part of your Super Bowl pregame footage. Anyways, there you go.
Okay. Yes.
All right, buddy.
Thanks to everybody for tuning in, and we'll catch you again soon. Bye for now.